Hello, I am the gaming superhero, and today we are talking about the big bad of the Black Panther universe. If we're talking about any universe that isn't the MCU. Klaw, who might also sort of count as my first character, made as a request, sort of, because I've had him planned for months, but last month when I put up the teaser for Silver Surfer, my Discord believed it was Klaw, at which point they went nuts and super hyped for it. The real ones, Biggle on Discord, made a kit for him, and Prehistoric Pogfish already gave suggestions for skins to give him. It was then ruined by Klaw not being the character that week, but I'm fixing it now. Shoutouts to Prehistoric Pogfish on the Discord for guessing the character correctly. And then on YouTube, we have Juliac1508, Leo Chase the Mythmaster, and NASCAR Dickinson 2319, who I guess didn't technically guess, but he did say Klaw. It was more of a rant on how to spell Klaw, but I'm counting it. And so yeah, those are all of the correct guesses this week. Good job, everybody. Ulysses Klaw, aka Klaw, first appeared in Fantastic Four number 53, because why should any significant Black Panther character debut in a Black Panther book, of all things? We open on the Wakandan people celebrating the Fantastic Four and White Wingfoot. Black Panther then takes them to his bachelor pad, where this comic's age is on display, where all the tech they spotlight is futuristic and advanced, are now old by our standards, which is crazy to think about. He then begins to explain his origin story, but before that, we cut to the border where a giant red gorilla and elephant are wreaking havoc. We then cut back to T'Challa's story. After a few racist cut-ins from The Thing, like he keeps comparing this heartbreaking tale of a boy watching his father die with, oh, this is just like those jungle movies I've seen. I don't know what exactly he is talking about, but I can make an educated guess given the time frame, and Ben is just like this the entire issue too, making derogatory remarks. And there is no turning point where he learns to respect them, learn not to be racist. He just stays racist. It's so weird. So yeah, we hear how amazing T'Chaka was and how Klaw attacked 10 years ago with a special sound cannon. But luckily, one of Klaw's lackeys left it behind so young T'Challa can grab it and use it to shoot at Klaw and scare off his men. He doesn't shoot Klaw's hand off, apparently, he just shatters the bones in his hand, which is a weird half measure in between, whatever. After the story, an alarm blares signifying the return of Klaw. The Fantastic Four go to fight the giant red animals, and Panther goes straight to the cave where Klaw is hiding. They then fight for a bit before Klaw summons a big red panther made of sound to attack the Black Panther, but Klaw doesn't realize you always bet on black, so T'Challa wins and catches Klaw while he is monologuing, causing the machine to explode. Black Panther assumes he is dead, and right after calling himself a genius too, what a shame. The comic ends with Klaw crawling into his sound machine to gain great power to defeat Black Panther in the future. Pretty good story, minus the oddly racist thing, but a nice story for the Panther, despite this, not being his first appearance. Anyway, let's get to the main event. I made the Master of Sound a duelist, with a beam primary fire that needs to be aimed like Emma Frost. It doesn't auto-track enemies. I also gave him a movement ability, or rather Biggle did, and I am using it, called Sonic Charge, where Klaw charges forward, dealing damage and knocking enemies about, while being immune to CC, similar to the Thing's charge. But where it differs is when Klaw hits a wall or similar surface, he will continue the charge, extending the amount of time he can spend charging, like sound echoing off of cave walls. I guess I should also mention, he doesn't quite have the turn radius and capability as the Thing charge. It's much stricter in how straightforward he can go. I also gave him a passive where he forces any enemies near him to play on mute, essentially, stealing all the sound around them so they can't hear enemy or ally ult activations, as the most devastating consequence. This leads directly into Ability 1, Mute Blast. Shoot a projectile that damages enemies, but also makes them deaf for a few seconds. Exactly like the passive, but just launched forward to affect enemies that aren't standing right next to him. And I guess it's also a good time that it's not just, they can't just hear the ult activation, they can't hear anything. So footsteps, shots, voice, they can't hear anything. So it's not just muting the voice, the alt voice lines. Not much else to say, so moving on. Ability 2 is Sound Bomb. Throw a projectile that deals damage on impact and leaves a field that damages over time. I imagine the damage over time being more in waves rather than just a steady amount over time. It would pulse out, dealing less damage with each pulse until it stops, like a dying echo. The time between the pulses would be pretty quick to avoid periods where someone could land in the zone and not take damage. For the ultimate, we have Being of Sound. Summon a giant elephant that charges forward, leaving damage zones on each step. The elephant will also explode at the end of the charge or when destroyed by enemies, with the radius and damage of the explosion being increased based on the amount of damage it takes. The damaging zones function the same as with Sound Bomb. This was inspired directly by the comic I read at the beginning, because I found it so interesting. I originally had the ult as something similar in that it involved a large sound projection, but this new version is just more interesting and involved, I feel. And that is how I would add Klaw to Marvel Rivals. I hope it was worth the wait. This was fun to do, especially once I learned Klaw wasn't just the Vine Boom sound given human form. He can properly manipulate sound in interesting ways, which really helps when making a kit. It also made me sad given how wasted he was in the MCU, especially when the actor they got to play him was so charismatic and fun to watch. Just a bummer, man. Let me know what you think of the kit and how you would do any of it differently. Also, I am on TikTok and Instagram now, along with the Twitter and Bluesky. I already had, so more places to find my videos now, or at least the skin shorts I release on Wednesdays. And speaking of, be sure to let me know of any skins you would give Klaw so I can add it to the short. Like the video, subscribe if you're interested in more, and you're welcome. And
next time, Gadget, I promise I'll get you next time.
Whoops, wrong Klaw.